Dexter is back in Dexter Resurrection, premiering this June, and y'all, I have a problem with this show. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can I have an issue with a show that hasn't even aired yet? Fair question. We know the basics, that it takes place after Dexter New Blood and that Mr. Morgan survived his seemingly fatal shooting at the hands of his son Harrison. In Dexter Original Sin, we see him getting the medical help he requires. Presumably, this is where Resurrection will pick up. And that's where my concern starts. The problem with Dexter Resurrection is simple. It can't ever return Dexter to his status quo. For that to happen, the show would have to effectively ignore the events of Dexter New Blood, which in theory places Dexter in an inescapable situation. For those whose memory is a bit spotty, the original Dexter series ended in a manner that we might call less than ideal. Dexter was forced to end the life of his own sister before taking her body out to the ocean amidst a massive hurricane. He's presumed dead, but sometime later reappears as a lumberjack. It's one of the most ridiculed finales in TV history, and for good reason. It ain't good. So when news came down the grapevine that we would get a new series in the form of New Blood, things seemed to be looking up. Sure, nothing could expunge that awful finale from existence, but we could finally get the ending for Dexter Morgan that we as fans deserved in the first place. So fast forward to November 2021 and Dexter's back, baby. But now we have to ask, where can the show go from here? This time he's replaced the sunny exteriors of Miami for the snowy town of Iron Lake, New York. Here he's found a suitable facsimile of a normal life, one that would allow us to enjoy Dexter for the reason we did during his run in Miami. He has a job, a girlfriend, and through her he even has access, or some access, to the police department. And there's even a convenient serial killer on the loose for him to take down. It's a great setup for a single season, and what's more, it knew how to end the franchise for good. It brought back Harrison, Dexter's son, and had him shoot and kill his own father. For a series based on a father essentially teaching his son how to get away with murder, it was an apt conclusion to what had come before. However, many folks online disagree with me. Heck, ScreenRant's own review stated that it made the writer appreciate the Season 8 finale a lot more. Which, woof. That's rough. What a statement. But really, how else was it supposed to end? I suppose there's an argument to be made that Batista should have been the one to bring Dexter down. We were teased with that possibility, with Batista on the way to confront Dex, but of course Harrison got to Daddy-O first. That was somewhat disappointing to not have justice served, and for that character's presence to amount to so little, but then it wouldn't be Dexter post-Season 1 without a little disappointment. Beyond that, though, I just don't see a problem with the finale to New Blood. It's a logical endpoint for a character who, up to this point, had escaped death and capture so many times that it had gotten downright ridiculous. So that brings us back to the status quo issue. Even if Police Chief Angela Bishop and Detective Angel Batista don't turn him in as the Bay Harbor Butcher, he's still on the hook for the murder of Deputy Logan. A murder, by the way, which very much went against the code and therefore left Dexter even more broken as a person than he would have been with just a gunshot to the chest. He's now become the monster that he was always running away from. He's a killer through and through, and in order to proceed with his life, he'll have to confront that. There's also no way for him to escape. As we saw in the opening to Dexter Original Sin, he's in police custody and being operated on at a hospital, pretty much literally dead to rights. Unless we get some sort of retcon to reframe what's seen in that opening, he's pretty screwed. That aforementioned status quo is gone forever. There's no way for Dexter to logically go from where he is at the start of Original Sin to living a normal life with a little murder on the side. That was the key to the show's success, and now it's scattered to the wind. Now, that all said, the problem with this problem is that Dexter Resurrection isn't out yet. Hell, I don't even think they've finished shooting. So it's entirely possible that the writers have come up with a totally valid method of extending Dexter's reign. Perhaps the old status quo isn't necessary, and Dexter going to prison or battling the legal system is actually a very enjoyable premise. Perhaps the actual show will involve the police taking Dexter's help to solving a crime and tracking down a killer. An idea that sounds god-awful to me, but maybe Clyde Phillips and his team have found a way to make it work. And heck, what do we even know about Dexter Resurrection thus far? Well, we know that it's set in New York City, and that several former guest stars are set to make their return, including John Lithgow as Arthur Mitchell and Jimmy Smits as Miguel Prado, presumably both as figments of Dexter's imagination on account of the whole, being dead thing. James Remar is also set to return, presumably regaining his role as Dexter's moral compass following the events in Iron Lake. We've also gotten small glimpses of Peter Dinklage and Uma Thurman on set, playing billionaire Leon Prater and his bodyguard Charlie. Based on set photos, these are characters whom Dexter interacts with directly. We even see him apparently sharing a helicopter flight with the two of them. We also know that Harrison returns, as actor John Alcott has been spotted in New York, filming scenes for the show. He's joined by a few other surprising additions to the cast, including David Dastmalchian, Neil Patrick Harris, and Kristen Ritter. We've also seen David Zayas on set, suggesting that we'll finally get the showdown between Dexter and Batista that was teased at the end of New Blood. The problem again, however, is how any of this makes sense with what we saw previously. I'm sure that Phillips has come up with a way of logicking his way through Dexter's conundrum, but it remains to be seen whether that logic will be enough to make sense of Dexter walking around New York City seemingly as a free man. The best idea I can come up with is that there's simply not enough evidence to nail Dex, and while Batista, Angela, and others attempt to solve this problem, he's bailed out and picked up by Leon Prater. Why is, of course, anyone's guess at this point, as it seems unlikely that Prater is doing this out of the kindness of his heart, or even to blackmail Dexter into committing a murder for him. So, what could Prater's motives be? What is the connection between him and Dexter? I don't know, man. It all has the feeling of a show that's trying really hard to extend a premise that went past its expiration date years ago. No matter what comes of the leaks thus far, I think it's safe to say that the status quo I've harped on about is definitively deceased. And without it, I worry that Dexter Resurrection may be dead on arrival. But what do you think? Are you excited for Dexter to be resurrected in June? Let me know in the comments about why that is and why I'm wrong, and thank you for watching Screen Rant.